Welcome to Real Estate AI Flash, the podcast that helps real estate professionals understand how AI is changing real estate and the strategies you can use to win. I'm your host, Rajiv Saja. In today's episode, we explore one of the biggest opportunities AI presents for real estate brokerages, transforming the operational work that happens behind every transaction. I'm joined by Divya Aathresh, founder and CEO of MaxHome.ai, who shares how her team is using AI to automate compliance reviews, document processing, transaction workflows, and other back office functions that have traditionally required significant time and staffing. We discuss the challenges of applying AI to real estate transactions, why brokerages are rethinking operations, and how AI can help create more efficient, scalable, and profitable business while improving the experience for agents and consumers alike. If you've ever wondered how AI can do more than write content and actually transform the economics of a brokerage, this conversation offers a fascinating look at what's possible. Let's get to it with Divya. Welcome to another episode 128 of the Real Estate AI Flash. And today we have Divya Aathresh. She's the CEO and founder of MaxHome.ai, which is an AI native platform helping solve operational challenges for agents and brokerages. And we're going to get all into it, everything that they're doing with AI. So, Divya, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. Excited to be here. Excited to have this conversation with you.
Yeah, of course, of course. I know we've sort of known each other for a little while. I think, heard of Max Home when I was at the Montana event from the CEO of President of Montana Properties. And since then, we sort of went back and forth, and here we are. I'm glad we could get on the podcast and kind of talk a little bit about some of the good work you folks are doing at Max Home to solve some of the operational challenges. So, I gave you a very elevator pitch of of your career. So, I'd love for the listening audience or people watching on YouTube to kind of get to know you a little bit. And how did you get into real estate and bring us to today?
Getting into real estate, I would say, was completely accidental. I'm a software engineer by training. I grew up in India, became an engineer, like one of the two career options for most young kids who go to college. From there, I am what one might call a generalist. Like I spent some time at Goldman, like building technology, and then at McKinsey doing like strategy work. Uh, Loved those phases, but really wanted to be in like a hyper growth startup, like just to understand like what all the deal is about. So ended up at Better, which is a home ownership company based in New York. Relatively early employee there. At the time, Better was still Better Mortgage. One of the key insights we had was it's really the real estate agents who help understand the mortgage world. So we really need to be in that space. So I ended up building the real estate business line there. Was there for over 4 years and now have been working on Maxhome for a couple of years. So no longer an industry outsider, I think, but it was a completely accidental entry.
Yeah. So how long has been? When did you start Max Home? And give us a little bit of the where you're located in the Bay Area, I'm assuming, and you have people obviously all over, and kind of give us a little bit of the company.
Yeah. So yes, I'm located in San Francisco Bay Area. We started in 2024. That's when mostly it was like idea concepts. We were working with early customers to build the product. Now we are in three locations primarily, like New York here, and we have a pretty big team in India as well. So that's the footprint, and we've been growing fast.
Nice, nice. So, and what made you like? I mean, maybe I'll just flip the question a little bit before we get to the. I usually ask my guests, what was your first light bulb moment with AI, and why you felt like AI would help you sort of do the startup you're doing. Let's go there first, and I'm going to come back to Maxim and what made you want to start the company the way you did. So, what was your first light bulb moment, Divya?
Yeah, so for me, it was really the experience at Better. Uh, a big part of like building the brokerage. There were two things that was like in our face, and there were solutions we tried, but we could or could not do. So one was it was very apparent we are sitting on like treasure trove of like really valuable information and data, right? So, but all of it was sort of inaccessible. So it's either in like a PDF or unstructured email or something with very specific real estate context. So there's information, but you can't really do much with it. Then part two is, which I'm sure you know, is running a brokerage is a very operationally expensive proposition, and part of it is because every transaction is unique, but this is a regulated transaction, so you want to make sure everything makes sense. And the only way you make sure it's compliant, all of it, is by hiring like processors, operators, all of that. So we did the same thing, but once the whole generative AI like started becoming a part of the conversation, it became super apparent that finally we are in a moment where we can actually read and understand what's going on in a transaction at the AI level, right? Like not at the human level. And what that means is it just opens up a whole suite of use cases that you can go solve. So once that happened, then I reached out to some early customers, and with them we started honing in on the problem of let's automate the back office for real estate.
Yeah, so it's no, I worked at Berkshire Hathaway Home Services, Fox and Roach for 2 decades, and it is a very, to your point, every transaction is unique, but it's very intensive to a fixed cost. A lot of fixed costs, and the only way you become more profitable is you sort of become more efficient with the fixed cost, but also you got to get enough transactions flowing through the fixed costs, and that's always a struggle for brokerages, right? And I felt like one of the things you are working on is how you sort of solve some of those operational challenges for brokerages to make them more profitable, and quite frankly, at the end of the day, doing it faster and quicker and better, right?
Exactly. Yep.
So let's kind of dig into what are some of the early use cases, and start where we want to start, and we'll have a conversation on it.
Yeah, yeah. It's funny. My neighbor is just going through a windblower in the loudest possible
It
volume.
happens at the most opportune time, even for me as well. So I'm glad that nobody's outside my house right now.
Yeah. So on the use cases, right? Like the first one we leaned into was mostly in partnership with our brokerages. What is the biggest pain point you have, and how do we solve it? And the thing that kept coming up over and over again is the processing of documents is a very manually intensive problem. And the only solutions that's out there today is like you have systems where you store the document, but after that it's pretty much everything is human labor, right? As an example, if you want to make sure if your transaction is compliant, you want to see if all the right people have signed the document, or if a house was built before 1978, there is a lead disclosure that went out, right? And there's like a whole suite of things that happen that you have your processes for reviewing. As an example, like one of our early customers, they had people on their team who'd block out like 5 hours every single day. I think it was a 5 or 6 member team just to review physical checks, which
Oh,
is what is this check? What is this amount? What transaction is this for? How much were we owed? What does their paperwork say? Let me go back and chase the agent. All of it, like mostly automated, right? Like 80% fully automated. The other 10 or 20% is usually like edge cases on like what is going on, what's happening. So that's the thing we leaned into is we're not really building software, we are building your operations team. So we are building the thing that will do the operations on your behalf, and really focus your attention on the edge cases versus the 80 or 90%, which is usually happy path, or understandable path. Like it may not be happy, you may still have to ask your agents to go full ABC, but it's more standard repetitive routine, and we have automated most of that, right? So that's been the biggest thematic use case we have leaned into. And there are multiple like sub use cases within that, which is managing compensation, ensuring compliance is appropriate, helping agents stay on track of their transaction. So all of that, which is essentially what the brokerage was trying to do, and adding value to their agents, like we have automated all of that.
so let me ask this question. So there's a lot of human, getting the institutional knowledge before you sort of build a process, right? Out every brokerage is a little different. There's some similarities. How did you overcome the challenge of people feeling like this is going to a? There's two schools of thought. One is like people feel like my job's going to go away, right? At the companies you're offering the solution to, and I can obviously do more strategic work, right? That's really the argument for brokerages to embrace your platform. How did you work with your early clients to kind of and help humans be a part of the process because they need to be, and
Yes.
provide the institutional knowledge to enhance the platform that you're building for them.
Yeah. I think the beauty of this is, we sat with our customers and built the product, right? So the fundamental thesis I have with AI in general is the cost of building is zero now. It's near zero. So it's all about like how do you make it actually work for the end user. So we sat with our customers, and as we were building, I think the thing that became apparent is people where we say are fearing these changes have been our strongest advocates. So for
Mm.
example, the person in the checks team, she didn't want to like look at checks for 5 hours every day, right? Like it's really mundane, and there's so much other work that you have to do. It was either falling behind, or this person in particular was logging in at 8 in the night and finishing her job. So they have been actually true partners and advocates in understanding the value of this. And at a brokerage level, it's a common problem because this is a seasonal business. The summer months become super busy, your employees are super stretched. Now you have to take a decision if you want to hire more people, train them or not. Now you don't have to, right? Because you can manage with the team that you have. So that's like a complete unlock for them, that I don't have to go up and down based on the swings of the market. And then we have had customers where they've redeployed their workforce on higher value activities. One of our customers in Florida, I think they redeployed many of their administrators to do TC light type of work, marketing coordination work, all of those things which would increase revenue versus just like adding more operational spend.
Yeah, so it's very interesting. There's been a market for transaction coordination forever, right? It's either done by a human or agents or teams sort of like outsource that to a virtual assistant. So is your product tailored for brokerages ideally, or is it tailored for large teams? How are you sort of approaching your product?
Yeah, so the initial version is tailored for brokerages. We are coming up with newer versions, which will help the agents and the teams automate a lot of what they are doing. But the current version is specifically focused on brokerages.
So what are some of the challenges you faced as you started building this product that we've not talked about? Not the human element of it. How about the AI side of things?
AI, I think one of OpenAI co-founders mentioned fairly recently in the last few months that PDFs are hard. And he's not kidding when he says that. And because we've been spending a ton of time on this, because large language models are fundamentally for language, right? And PDFs are like multi-dimensional, multi-layered. Like every checkbox, like as simple as your MLS data sheet or listing agreement, will have like 36 checkboxes so close to each other, and they all mean something. They're materially important. How do you interpret it? What do you do with it? Or like handwriting. There are many states where handwritten forms is still the norm. Like, how do you read it? How do you understand it? So all of this, it's taken us some time, right? Like it wasn't like we are not a thin wrapper on ChatGPT. Like we've built and trained and specifically deployed models to handle very specific use cases. Like what is a signature? How do you define what a signature is? Right. So these are all like technically hard problems, which again, I've been fortunate. Our team has been excellent. But again, every time we launch a new state, we discover new habits and practices, and then you have to go and like one of the states we are reading recently is like very very liberal in its use of, I will just strike through everything and write on top of it and then sign and you figure it out, right? So now is the language in strike through relevant, not relevant? The line above, is it relevant, not relevant? So all of this is meaningfully hard problems which we've been able to tackle, but every day we discover something new, and it's been fascinating.
So how many agents are currently on your platform, have access to Max Home through their brokerage?
So through the brokerage product is not open to agents. It's specifically for
Or for back
the
office?
officers and administrators. The way agents are interacting is brokerages do send them like, hey, here is a summary of your transaction, or here are errors in your email. So that's their main exposure to us today. So primarily we are targeted brokerages. The agent footprint is around like 40,000 agent footprint right now.
All right. So, as you start to look at your customer base and how you sort of integrate with other of the brokerage tech stacks, right? I'm thinking like they have a big mortgage operation, and then they have a big title operation. Talk me through how you sort of look at that whole entire tech stack, and where does Max Home fit in for people that are listening?
Yeah, this is honestly the most exciting part that's coming up because we are moving away from will help you save money, which we will, but will also help you make more money, right? Because the fundamental challenge in the industry has been like cross sell. Like, how do you effectively cross sell? How do you capture the right moment of intent? And we are sitting on that information, right? Like, we know exactly 14 days from now you're going to get a mortgage, exactly 20 days from now you need a title insurance. So we are working with our brokerages and their affiliated partners on either it could be an API trigger or it's an email notification, so they know exactly when to be in front of the consumer, versus hoping that your real estate agent remembers to tell them to go talk to my title company, right? So we are starting to lean in heavily into integrations with the affiliated businesses and the title providers. So yeah, so that's the a big part of our push, like this year and early next year.
Yeah, yeah, I can see that becoming a big unlock for brokerages too, right? As you start to, I mean, there's several camps. One is like we want to give a unified home ownership experience for people. Rocket is sort of pushing that with all of the things that they're doing, and there's other big brands doing the same thing. So I can see how your product sort of can fit in. So primarily your audience is the real estate transaction early listing
Correct.
agreement,
Correct.
that piece of it, buy side and sell side listing
Uh,
agreements,
Agreed.
right?
Typically, it's listing agreement or offer accepted, or as soon as you sign a buyer to be their representative.
Right, right. Now, how do you see? Have you had any conversations with MLSs since sort of my new role is at the MLS level? So, where do you see that going potentially?
Yeah, yeah. So I think MLSs will be key partners for us, right? I think there are a few different dimensions here. One is what are some of the types of solutions you want to provide your members? It could be simplification of form filling, compliance at the MLS level versus the brokerage level. We might be able to help do that. We've been having early conversations with some MLS providers. There's a lot of interest. And then, of course, I'd love to chat with you about it as well at some point. But also, just this whole the generation of forms and piece, because again, we are bringing out products to market for the agents as well. A big piece will be how do we work cohesively with all the different boards and all the different forms providers to ensure it's a super seamless experience.
Yeah, I think there's an opportunity. I mean, we're even at Bright MLS, we're looking at a marketplace. Like, there's several brokers we support, and it could be an opportunity for us to package what you're doing to offer it as a solution for brokerages that, quite frankly, don't have the staff and can offer this as a value add for their agents over time. Right?
Exactly, exactly.
So tell me a little bit about. I know you're obviously in the forms, compliance, and speed, accuracy business, and your URLs. You're sort of Max Home, so you're sort of in the real estate vertical in many ways. Where do you see Max Home going?
We are chasing the unified home platform, right? I think that's the vision, and we want the brokerages to have the same power as some of the other larger players with the deeply embedded tech teams have. I do think the future there will be a lot more consolidation, and the smaller players. The only way you can win is by having the best experience that you can provide to your agent, your customer, your seller. So that's the business we want to be in, and transactions truly drive so much of that experience. So that's kind of where we've started.
And I see obviously you're venture funded at some level, right? You started bootstrap. So when if people look at your company and say, what is the total addressable market for your company in that space? Is there a number around that? I mean, where if Maxome was wildly successful in the real estate space, where do you see that going?
I can give a few different versions of the answer,
Oh,
but
good. Yeah, yeah. Just
but to put it differently, right? Like brokerages today, in our estimate, spend like over 10 billion on just or different types of operational expenses. That is a huge value that they can choose to change and save and give it back to their agents or profits or be what it may. So it's a huge opportunity, right? So if we just start there, that's one angle to look at it.
Yeah, and obviously you have several brokerage customers. Is there a without, you don't have to name them. You're welcome to if you want to. Are they some examples you can talk about before Max Home? This is what they were spending. After Max Home, some case studies that would be great.
Yeah. So one of our customers in Florida, I hope she's be okay with this because she came on a webinar and shared this information. So they have 50 offices. They had 50 admins in different offices who were all managing the paperwork. Now they've completely centralized it, and it's 7 people doing it. Right. So it's a complete game changer in the way they were. Operating before, and how their focus is just on edge cases now, like no longer on the routine work.
So before I get to my final two questions, I'd love to ask. I mean, you're an AI native company, and the space is changing at warp speed that we can't even keep up,
Yeah.
right? How does Divya and MaxHome.ai keep up with stuff? I'm just
Uh,
curious. What is your process like? I'm just curious because I have a vested interest in hearing your answer.
for sure, for sure. Yeah, I think you're right, right? Like things change so constantly, and as a founder, there's always a trade-off between I need to be super focused on what I'm doing, but also keep an eye out for everything that's happening. There is a huge location advantage to being where I am. I am in the heart of where AI is getting shaped. So I'm like constantly having, like, today I'm meeting 3 founders for dinner. So it's a constant idea exchange, right? Like, how are you thinking about problems? I think there's a lot of value that comes from, to some extent, being in the ecosystem and just absorbing it in. Honestly, that's been my way to stay at least ahead of how people are thinking about certain problems and all of that. But I know it's just changing so fast.
Yeah. One of the things when I started my role at Bright, and obviously I've been studying AI, building AI to some level, not to the extent that you're doing. It's I've been talking a lot about how we can build the startup mentality into an MLS, right? And MLSs have traditionally been what they've been traditionally, and they didn't have competition. Most of them don't, right? It's
Yeah.
just the way the industry is, and it's all about trying to disrupt yourself before somebody disrupts you. And that's an age old thing. So it's very interesting. I mean, if you grew up with as a startup with what you're doing now, um, you think very differently, you do very different things than traditional companies, and that is a very important shift that all of us need to make in the age of AI. So last couple of questions. One thing is, how do you sort of, who do you follow, who do you keep track of with about AI? Like I have my own Twitter list that I follow, right? And then Substacks. I'm curious who Divya follows.
Literally every top founder in the community.
Yeah.
So I think it's more, I'm also on like some of these like side channels just for founders, for AI
Yeah.
developers. So it's a long list of names right
Oh,
now.
I'm sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I ask. There's a couple of questions I want to end with. One is, how long has been Maxon been in business?
A little over 2 years now.
2 years. Okay. So if you had to give an advice to your younger self, like you're already 2 years in a startup is almost like, I feel like it's like 10 years in a traditional company. You know, what would you have kept the same? What would you do different?
Yeah, I think when we started out early on, we were to some extent unsure if large brokerages would even care about something like this. So we were really like working with like individual agents, and we spent some time, right? And then another founder was like, Divya, why are you doing this? Go after the big ones. I'm sure they have the same problem. And then, sure enough, that's what happened, right? Like, then our early design partners, they had 4,000 agents, 2,500 agents, and the way we built completely changed because of that. So I think in many ways you're your own mental block.
Yeah.
So I think knowing how transformative this is, just being unafraid of knowing that this is going to have an impact across the board. I think that is something I would have probably, it would have saved us like 3 or 4 months at least in the 2 year journey. Yeah, and sorry, I forgot the part two of your question.
No, it was just more about what would you do differently and what would you not change?
I think building in partnership with customers, I think that's been super helpful. We've literally been sitting, shadowing teams, have like, yeah, they are influencing a lot of the roadmap. Of course, there's sometimes a trade off, but usually when you zoom out and look at like 3 or 4 customers, they almost always have similar problems. Then the product actually adds value versus them having to force fit into our product. So I think, I hope we continue to do that for as long as we can, and that just becomes the fabric of the company.
Yeah, and if you're in a large team or a brokerage looking to streamline some of your compliance and workflows, back office workflows, you owe it to yourself to take a demo of Max Home and reach out to Divya. We'll put a link to all of those things in the show notes. So, final question for you, Divya, before I let you go: are you a book or a podcast person?
I'm both. I love to. I love to read, but off like time constraints, so I listen to a lot of podcasts while driving.
Yeah, for sure. So, what is your favorite? And you can throw audibles in the books category also. So, what is your favorite book or podcast that has probably deeply influenced you as a founder?
I would say "How I Built This" by Guy Raz.
Oh wow, I've not heard that. We'll add that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. It's he's very neutral, very curious person as a person conducting the interviews, and he speaks to founders across different stages in their journey, and so many of the themes are parallel. Is what I've realized. So that's been super, super helpful for me, even before I thought of becoming a founder. Like, it's been fantastic.
Well, continued success to you. I know there's a lot of trials and tribulations as a startup that you go through, like many others do. And hope our paths cross again real soon. And meet you in real life sometime real soon at a conference.
Let's do it.
If you found value in the show, follow it so you're notified every Wednesday when new episodes drop. Share it with someone in the industry you care for, and leave us a review as it helps us reach more real estate professionals like you.